I'm recording this video directly on the heels of the last video because I forgot to say things in the last video that I meant to say in the last video. So instead of saying them in the last video, which I forgot to do, I'm saying them in this video now because I've remembered to do it. One of the things that I also realized was that my camera for a long time has been performing at less than optimal, at least from my personal point of view. And having worked for a long time in technical support with digital imaging products, specifically digital cameras, one of the things that I've come to realize is that all USB ports are not created equal. And I'm not talking about the difference between USB 1 and USB 2 and whatnot. I'm just talking about the difference between, hard on-the-board ports versus hub ports. And apparently, the ports that are on the side of my laptop are not the same as the ports that are on the back of my laptop. Because when I plug the camera into the back of my laptop, it kicks ass compared to the side of my laptop. So that's something to remember for the future. Don't plug them into the side of the laptop, or else you get crap video that's all herky-jerky and I look like I don't really know. I smell burnt toast. So a couple of the things that I forgot to mention was, one, my first deadline for the Week Standard Community Editorial Board, that is to say my local newspaper's editorial board, of which I am a part for the year, and for which I will have to write a number of columns throughout the year. My first deadline is on March the 4th, that is to say next Tuesday, and the column will appear in Thursday's edition of the paper, and I will post that on my blog at madhacktress.com, and probably on Facebook profiles and all of the other places where I can post stuff like that, because there's no such thing as too much praise or self-aggrandization. And also, I haven't really come up with what I'm going to write yet. I know, Tuesday is ticking away, but I really have a few things. A friend of mine sent an email to me not that long ago about with a link to a YouTube video that was a parody of that Rick Mercer had done with regard to our national or federal budget for 2008, in which my party, the Liberal Party, has basically bent over and taken it from the Conservatives yet again. And that particularly annoyed me because my party sucks, and I don't really understand why, and they're annoying me because of it. And my response to my friend was quite strong, and I'm considering cleaning that up, that is to say removing the line about Stefan Dion taking it up the poop chute from Stephen Harper, but the rest of it and submitting that as my article. Or there's also our city has what's called the Elvik, or the large venue entertainment center, or the Kingston Regional Sports and Entertainment Center, or also known as the K-Rock Center. Though I did vow that I would never call it the K-Rock Center, and after this point in time, I never will call it that again. It will always be known as the Elvik. I have hated the building since its concept was originally expressed in our city council, because it seemed as though our mayor has been trying to railroad the city with his own personal agenda with regard to the building, and putting it where he wants to put it on property that he wanted to put it on. And in our particular city, there's a couple of families that are very close and very tight and sort of very in control of the town. Not so much to say they're in control of the town, but as far as in a you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours kind of way with city council and whatnot. And that really annoys me, because I think that that's really not fair, and they seem to be in a perfect position in order to make all of this happen, and are able to do so unopposed, or just in a way that nobody really has an opportunity to stop it, if they cared to. And so that was part of my problem with Elvik, was that I saw that happening with it. And so that was a problem. And also the fact that the building has no parking lot and zero parking except for street parking and city parking lots and private parking lots and whatnot around it. And I saw that as an enormous oversight with regard to the building of the structure, considering it's built right downtown. Like, any farther downtown and it would be in the basement of City Hall. And there's no reason for that when Kingston has a huge amount of green space around it. The city has expanded and left out so far that it doesn't seem unrealistic to have been able to put it in a more reasonable location where there could have been a parking lot. However, this is not what happened. They put it downtown, and the last last weekend there was a couple of performances, one hockey game and one normal performance, both of which were, for all intents and purposes, sold out, which should have been a fairly decent test of the parking arrangement and the so-called parking strategy for the building. And for most reports, the parking strategy worked, and the parking was not an issue for the building, and everybody managed to get to and from the venue with very little problem. And so it seems that, in fact, my own personal concerns and issues with the building, aside from the building of it where it was and the sort of you pat my back, or you scratch my back, I'll scratch your back kind of thing, which is over and done with, and there's no use crying over that spilt milk anymore. All of my concerns have been answered, because if the parking situation isn't a problem, then what the hell, the building can stay there. There's not really much point in worrying about it if it's not going to be an ongoing headache. If the headache is over, then what the hell. So I was thinking that one of the ideas that I could write about would be my sort of coming around to that point of view from my adamant opposition to the proposal when it originally came out. So those were the two things that I've been kind of going back and forth on. And in fact, I think I will write both of them and submit both of them to the editor and let him choose which one he prefers. Certainly the one with regard to the budget and the Liberal Party's response to the budget is certainly more vitriolic and certainly a little bit more sensational and probably more interesting to print than the other, but we'll see. They did talk specifically about, no slander, and I'm not really sure whether I'm able to compose myself in such a way that it would be appropriate to print in the paper, though I will attempt. And the other thing that I talked about in my silent film of 8 minutes and 37 seconds, which disappeared into the ether, that I forgot to mention in the second version that I made, was the fact that the baby came home. My roommate's daughter's baby was born on Monday, Dominic Ashton, and he came home last night on Thursday. And he's very, very cute. I haven't held him because I've been sick and I've been wanting to avoid, exposing the baby to my disease. So I just wanted to, keep that away from him and from his mother. So I've been kind of staying from afar, but eventually I'll coochie coo up to the baby, because as much as I'm particularly not an infant person, it's infants in general that I dislike. It's not an infant in specific, and he's cute, and that's fine, so he'll be okay, and we'll see how that goes from there. So that's really what I had forgotten to say in the previous video that was from the first silent film video that I had forgot in the last video, which I'm now remembering to put in this video because I had forgotten it for the last one, and I remembered that I forgot it, and I thought that I should include it because it was important to include, because those really were the meat and potatoes of the original video. But for whatever reason, the second time around, I guess I thought that I had already said them, and since I had already said them, I didn't have to say them again, when in fact I had said them to my empty room and my fish tank and no one else. So that's that, and I've gone through 2 liters of Pepsi in the past 2.5 hours, and so I'm probably a little wired and I have to pee. So I should really stop this video now, and have a good night.